You're listening to the FairTax for All radio program, where we bring you everything and anything fair tax related. And now, your host, Alex Molesky.
Who's that? Who's Alex Molesky? Oh, that's me. Welcome to the FairTax for All radio show, folks, where our discussion is centered around current U.S. income tax code and the IRS. Our main goal is to educate and inform, so that's two things we're trying to do here in order to eliminate the IRS and our horrendous tax code. We try to keep it a little light sometimes, hence I get a little goofy. But I want you to have fun, but I want you to learn something. So please listen in this next hour, and I promise you that you'll be entertained and learn something. As always, I do like to give a brief intro to the bill, and we'll actually do this. The Fair Tax is a bill that is named in Congress H.R. 25 and the Senate S-122, and it eliminates the IRS and replaces the current income tax code with a national sales tax of 23% on new goods and services, not used. No more FICA taxes out of your paychecks. The 23% sales tax collects the tax dollars needed to fund Medicare and Social Security. The Fair Tax does not eliminate any government plans, just the collection method of taxation. In addition to replacing the income tax, the Fair Tax also provides each Social Security card holding person a monthly prepaid check to cover the 23% sales tax up to the poverty level. This isn't welfare. It is only to ensure we are not taxed on the necessities up to the government-mandated poverty level. The Fair Tax lowers the tax rate on every tax bracket, and at the same time helps to address the issue of our growing unsustainable national debt. It's a tax plan that shrinks the size of government. How can you not love that? And puts every American in a better financial position. Don't take my word for it. As I always like to say at the intro, please visit fairtaxcalculator.org. Enter your own information, your own numbers from your past tax returns, to see if you'd be better off under the Fair Tax. I already know the answer. Okay. Last week on the show, once again, we became the IRS show. We ran that for 2 weeks in a row. I decided weeks ago that running up to the Unfair movie, exposing the IRS, as you can see, if you're looking at the video posted to my website, I'm wearing the T-shirt. Voila. But anyway, the movie release, I decided that I was going to show just how easy it is to have a show all about the IRS, all about their mishaps, their bullying, and just how much they're just an outright mess. So it really wasn't hard. I had more brand new weekly stories on the IRS than I had time to cover on the show. The idea behind this format of stories was just to prove that there will always be something going on in relation to the IRS and how the current tax code makes it either impossible for the IRS to run effectively, or in what seems too often the case, the IRS is used as a tool to intimidate. We also last week had P.T. Burton, who is the grassroots promotions expert for the movie Unfair, exposing the IRS, on to help us get geared up for that big event this past Tuesday. It was a good show. And like all my past shows, it's archived at Molesky.com. That's MELUSKEY.com. Jeremy, you have that site bookmarked, don't you? Oh, yeah, he does. He's giving the thumbs up. Absolutely. He starts his day with it. Coffee, Molesky.com. Hey, it's not a bad idea. This week on our show, I have Tony Tangalos. He's the man behind the huge Prepperfest event coming up on October 25th and 26th in Phoenix. Actually, Scottsdale area, Phoenix area. But he'll be coming on in a few minutes. I will try to get to the recent Obamacare IRS ruling that I wanted to cover last week. Hey, that's another IRS thing that I ran out of time with. I also want to talk about a conversation I had with a former IRS employee. Enlightening, to say the least. But first, I do want to talk about the incredible night of Tuesday, the 14th, and the premiere of the movie Unfair, exposing the IRS. So listen in for the next hour, soak up some great fair tax information, and after the show, some guy named Dennis Prager is going to be on, and he happens to be a FairTax fan, so I think you'll like it. Stay tuned right now for the premiere, the movie premiere. I told you I wanted to talk about it. I have so many things on this desk. As I mentioned, I cannot keep up with the IRS stories, but I really, really just want to start off the show pretty much talking about the movie. You know that I went to the Unfair movie because I've been talking about it pretty much nonstop for the past month. I know, but I still, if you're tired of it, I'm sorry. This is just too good. I'm not sorry, actually. It's too important, and I want to give you a briefing on the movie and some thoughts about it, too. I did hear that some theaters were supposed to have the movie from callers, and they did not. I heard some theaters had delays and confusion. Sometimes these things do happen. I wish they didn't. I can't put it off to say that it was planned, or maybe it's a conspiracy by certain people on certain political sides. But since the IRS isn't exactly anybody's real, favorite topic or favorite category, I can't really imagine how anybody would want to sabotage the film. I know that Mesa down the road from me had a 20-minute delay, but then things went off smoothly. I understand it's a shame when these things happen, but I do know the movie makers appreciate the viewers' patience, and they kindly offered, if you were at the movie, a DVD discount to the moviegoers. So that's a bonus. I had a great time captaining my theater. Basically, that was just a title. Just allowed me to stand up, introduce myself, and share some of the requests of the movie makers to Twitter and Facebook post. If you're listening here, you likely know that I am the FairTax State Director for Arizona. You may not have known that if you were at the movie. It was just about the IRS. Hey, not about me. Anyway, you also know that I love the FairTax if you listen in. So if you were at the theater, like I said, you may not have known it. I very much did want to talk about the FairTax for many minutes in front of the movie. But like I said, time and place, the movie is not mine. And not all people in the audience were necessarily FairTax fans. I'm certain if I had the time and I'd had a large percentage of just learning about the FairTax, very interested in supporting this form of taxation, I would have just gone on. But as I said, we were there to draw attention to the IRS, not to the FairTax necessarily. So my time and place to talk about the FairTax is right here with you and with Jeremy. Jeremy is going to be the new FairTax expert, so when I go on vacation and want to take a break, he's going to take over the show. If you keep listening, and trust me, even you could probably be a guest speaker, replacement host here. Anyway, if you do want me as a guest speaker, contact me. Go to Molesky.com. Email me. I'll come speak at your group. You can always also check the events tab at Molesky.com to see where I might be speaking, so you can just show up or what events I'll be working at. I'm always open to civil discussion on this rather uncomfortable topic of taxation. And as I said, civil, that's the key word. All I ask for is civil discussion. Most people are very polite, and I'm not here to force anything on anyone. That's what I love about this country. I have the freedom to speak my mind, and you have the freedom to listen or turn the dial. Hold up. No. Don't turn the dial. Forget that. At least I encourage you, please don't. In regards to the movie, I want to thank all of my friends out there that helped spread the word about the Unfair movie information, and have had me as a guest to speak at their events, on their radio shows. There are too many to mention here, but I believe I thanked all of you personally. If I haven't, I owe you. You're all amazing in my book, and I really do appreciate you for doing this. You've gone above and beyond my request because you obviously have concerns about the IRS yourselves. I do know in my area there were also a few sold-out theaters. Some fun stories about that. I know my Desert Ridge was sold out, and there were quite a number of people being turned away due to the show being sold out. I knew at least of two people that came to Desert Ridge that had originally went to Glendale to see the movie, and it was sold out at least 2 hours before showing. So they drove all the way over to Phoenix and got some of the last tickets. I just want to thank everybody that made the effort to get to the movie, everybody that bought tickets. I know some of you just bought the tickets in support and didn't make it out. I want to thank you all. It means all of you, especially the people that could not get tickets. I just know how frustrating that must have been. And we're hoping hoping that the movie is reshown. I should know sometime this week. It might already be up as I'm taping this. Just go to my website, Molesky.com, and I'll make sure I put the movie information up there as soon as I know. But you can probably find the information more quickly by going to www.unfairmovie.com. That's unfairmovie.com. There's a very good chance, especially if you went to a theater that was sold out, that they will have it again next week, or this week coming up, actually. It is next week, technically, because the week doesn't end until Sunday or Saturday, the end of tonight. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not at liberty to discuss much of the movie on the air, as I want you to see it. I do want to mention a few dozen comments and discussions I've seen or had in regards to the movie. This is kind of funny. A large number of attendees wanted the movie to talk more about the fair tax, because they did go into it. And then on the flip side, a large number of attendees wanted the movie to talk less about the fair tax. I guess I can't win. But that's good, because there is more discussion with opposing viewpoints. I do believe, however, that the movie gives us a very important unifying reminder, an important awakening, if we are already not awake. It might be my favorite part, or the point of the movie. The one point of the movie where the point of apathy was brought up. The speaker mentioned that many people think the non-voting population is apathetic. She disagreed. She implied that they are just resigned that things are as they are and that they have no voice in changing what they don't like. Thank you very much for saying that. I needed to hear that. I on this show have implied that many people are apathetic in regards to voting and stuff. I'd like to change that to resigned to the current status. I like that much better, because if they are apathetic, then they are likely unreachable. If they are resigned, like I know I have been sometimes, then they just need encouragement. And I want to encourage you and let you know that you're not alone and you have a voice. You are one voice. So sing. Add another voice and harmonize. Add 100 more and become the choir. Add me and others like me, and we'll share your voice over the airwaves. You see how it's done. Your one voice is extremely valuable. Please don't ever sell yourself or the power of your voice short. Folks, we're going to go to break. We'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to the FairTax for All radio show. I'm your host, Alex Molesky. Today, with me today, I have a guest, Tony Tangalos from the Prepperfest fame. I warned you all ahead of time that I will always be able to link any guest to the FairTax. We'll admit I'm stretching it probably just a little bit, but that's because I love the idea of the Prepperfest. I have never been to one of these, and I do collect some things. I do have some things that make me a real newbie prepper. And I know Tony puts on a huge show. It's very well known, and it's a very well-received event. And here are the key factors for you to know before Tony comes on. It's Saturday, October 25th from 9 to 6, and Sunday the 26th from 9 to 4. It's in Scottsdale at Westworld. Very easily accessible, and it's huge. You can get tons and tons of information at prepperfestaz.com, including directions. And I have a link up at my site, prepperfestaz.com. I'm going to be there. That's my plan. Hopefully I'll be manning a booth, and if it works out that way, and also be walking around at my very first Prepperfest. Hopefully, if space permits, we'll have a booth and for the fair tax and also for the movie Unfair, exposing the IRS. But right now, I want to give it to Tony. Thanks so much for joining me here to talk a bit about the event.
Well, thanks for having me on your show. I really appreciate the opportunity to share with your listeners what we're doing over at the Expo. And I really support your fair tax initiative and trying to beat back the IRS with all the stuff that comes out of there, and Lois Lerner's inability to find any of her emails, which is just profoundly ridiculous, preposterous. So as far as connecting what we do to you, what you do, we've got a huge constitutional rights pavilion with the likes of Sheriff Mack, Shane Krauser, Joel Skousen's going to be there. And we really hit hard protecting our constitutional rights. And, part of our rights are not being abused by the IRS. So I think there's the connection. The prepping movement is all about freedom and liberty. And we're pulling people in from all sides. We've got a Freedom Fest rally going on Saturday night that the Constitutional County Project's putting on. And we have speakers from all across the board there. On the far right, we've got Sheriff Richard Mack and Joel Skousen speaking. And then you move into the middle, we have some people from the middle speaking. We also, on the far left, we have some of the people like Ernie Hancock, who's a well-known anarchist, but he's also very much into freedom and liberty. And, we all share the same goal: get the government off our backs, whether you're conservative or liberal or libertarian or whatever, anarchist. None of us want the government telling us what to do. And that's a lot of what drives a lot of the prepping movement is freedom and independence and liberty.
Okay. And, that's how you did my work for me by putting it together like that. I was just going to, basically say fair tax puts the control in the hands of the consumer, and you decide when to consume versus the government taking from you. And a true pepper, I guess, has the ability to be, for all intents and purposes, be able to provide for his or herself in nature without need for the government to throw their own 2 cents in. What I'd like for you to do is to explain to the newbies what a Prepperfest is, what they're going to be able to have. Because I know sometimes people are like, oh, they're people that are waiting for the end of the world. And I know that's darn well not the truth. They're just people that I guess a lot of people have forgotten. I don't think anybody knows how to garden anymore. Just simple little things that are so valuable and just a good little backup. I mean, if you can have a fire alarm in your house for a fire, why wouldn't you have some sort of a storage device to capture water just in case the water grid went off for a week? I mean, anything, but give us a little idea just for the newbies.
Well, you're absolutely right. Our tagline is prepping. It's not for doomsday. It's for every day. And, from the beginning of time until the Industrial Revolution in general and World War II in particular, virtually everybody was a quote unquote prepper. So we define prepping as basically having the ability to create your own food and have food security and, have the ability to live in a manner where you're not totally dependent on grocery stores and fast food and others for your existence. And it wasn't until after World War II, when the likes of A&P grocery stores and McDonald's and fast food came out, that people started migrating off the farms where they lived that agrarian prepping lifestyle and moved into cities where they got dependent on grocery stores and fast food for their food needs. So we're trying to reawaken the skills, learn how to do some gardening. Marjorie Wildcraft, Grow Your Own Groceries, is going to be one of our featured speakers. We've got David Bloom, who's written the book Alcohol Can Be a Gas, about how we can ferment and distill our own fuel alcohol and get off the dependency on big oil. We've got just a whole assortment of things. We've got a permaculture pavilion where we're teaching people how to grow their own stuff. We've got a constitutional rights pavilion where we're encouraging people to defend their civil liberties while we still have them. We have a petting zoo for the kids. We have a meetup pavilion where there's a bunch of prepper groups there. People want to learn what prepping's all about. It's not the doomsday BS you see on TV. It's for every day. It's for increasing your health and self-reliance.
And what I saw at the site with a few things that I really liked is that you have events going on every day, rooms where people are going in and talking every day, constantly, it seems. So people can go in, you can walk out, and it's up online. I know they're gonna have it noted outside the meeting areas and everything, so you can see what's going on, or you can go online and check the listing of events. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you can go up and check and know, I want to go to that one. I got to get to there for that one.
Absolutely. So we are big about education. So when people come to our expo, we've got almost $20,000 in banners and signage that's just going to be lining the expo walls, explaining to people things like normalcy bias, black swan theory, life assurance plan, topics we don't have time to go in depth on your radio show. We're also we're having available for sale at our cost at $2 an 84-page event program, which has about 45 pages of basic information on prepping, about healthcare, ham radio, permaculture, constitutional rights. And in that program, we have a list of 4 different classrooms that we have classes running from bell to bell both days. Classes like, I'll just read you some of the names of them. Introduction to Ham Radio, where people can learn how easy it is to get a ham radio. People may think, what the hell do I need a ham radio for? I can just use my cell phone. Well, when disaster strikes, like in Katrina and Hurricane Sandy, Cell towers often are disabled, but ham radios almost never go down. In fact, the police emergency services in Katrina and Sandy used ham radio to communicate when their own communication systems failed. We've got classes on gardening, composting, solar cooking basics, urban disaster survival training, water harvesting, fruit trees, raising quail and rabbits for food, chickens. Building a personal medical kit. We've got a wound management class where people can actually learn how to suture a small wound and have the various materials they need to do it. We've got other courses and classes on constitutional rights. Joel Skousen's our most popular speaker. He has written a book called Strategic Relocation and the Secure Home, and his classes typically have hundreds and hundreds of people standing room only. We're actually expanding the size of our classroom, our main classroom, to accommodate the kind of people that Joel brings. So it's a wide opportunity for people to explore the self-reliance movement, explore gaining food independence from the big grocery stores. And, a lot of the food we eat today is really not good for us. There's this whole genetically modified organism thing going on with Monsanto, and there's a lot of people that are really not happy about it in Europe and in South America.
Right, me too.
Most of those foods are labeled as such, but you got Michael Taylor, who's the ex-Monsanto vice president of public policy, sitting garden herd at the FDA as the food czar, prohibiting us from getting any labeling laws in this country. So, there's just a lot going on that people need to learn about. And a lot of when it comes to things like becoming self-reliant, becoming independent, taking control of the food you put in your body and making sure it's healthy for you so you can improve your health. That's what's driving the movement at Prepperfest Expo. It's not about doomsday and Armageddon and preparing for the end of the world. It's about how you can improve your life today and your health today.
No, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a realist, and I'm just really excited about it because I'm the newbie, and that's what I just want to check things out. And $2 for that book, that's worth just going there alone. Tony, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. We'll see you at the show.
All right, folks, we'll be going right to break, and we'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to the Fair Tax for All radio show. I'm your host, Alex Molesky. We're talking about fair tax and other fun things. I had Tony Tangalos from the Prepperfest just on. $2? $2 for a basic book with lots of information for preppers. That could be very valuable. The power went off. Anyway, I hope you will join me on the 25th, 26th weekend. I'm excited to check it on out. And we're going to have fair tax and unfair movie people there to answer questions if you have them. I'm just very excited just to walk around and check out things. Next story I want to talk about is one that I wanted to cover last week. It should be interesting, at least to anyone that is following Obamacare. Last week in Oklahoma, or I should say by now, this is 2 weeks ago in Oklahoma almost, an Oklahoma district judge ruled that the IRS rule altering the Obamacare law and providing billions in subsidies is arbitrary, capricious, and abuse of discretion, or otherwise not in accordance with law. In September of 2012, Oklahoma was the first of several states to challenge the legality of an IRS rule that caused billions in subsidies to be paid out. I know many of you have heard of that. You know what's going on with Obamacare, but despite Congress, they paid this out despite Congress never having authorized the payments. So an Oklahoma Attorney General, Scott Pruitt, hailed the state's victory in its lawsuit challenging the implementation of the Affordable Care Act. He said, today's ruling is a consequential victory for the rule of law. The administration and its bureaucrats in the IRS handed out billions in illegal tax credits and subsidies and vastly expanded the reach of the health care law because they didn't like the way Congress wrote the Affordable Care Act. That's not how our system of government works. Pruitt said the ruling proves that the administration can't change a law by executive fiat. The Obama administration created this problem, and rather than have an agency like the IRS rewrite a law it didn't like, the administration should have done the right thing and worked with Congress to amend the law. Oklahoma was the first to challenge the administration's actions, and today's ruling vindicates what we have recognized earlier on, and that is the administration can't rewrite the Affordable Care Act by executive fiat. So I don't know. He said the victory is just the beginning, and he fully expects the case to ultimately be decided by the Supreme Court. Today's ruling is a huge win for Oklahoma, but it's just a first step since Oklahoma filed the first lawsuit in 2012. Others have followed our lead and made similar claims in other jurisdictions. It's likely this issue will ultimately be decided by the U.S. Supreme Court. We look forward to making our case and continuing the effort to hold federal agencies accountable to their duty to enforce the laws passed by Congress. Oklahoma Senator Jim Inhofe, the Republican, also praised White's decision, saying that Obama administration is trying to fix a legally dubious law using waivers and exemptions. Today's decision is a reminder that the president's broken promises of affordable, accessible health care are the result of broken policy. The Obama administration has tried to make the law work with waivers and exemptions, but the courts continue to confront the legality of this legislation that was rushed through a Democrat-controlled Congress. While it will undoubtedly take time for Oklahoma's case to play out in the federal court system, I am confident in Attorney General Scott Pruitt and that our state's argument will prevail. This decision last week is the latest in a wave of court losses for Obamacare. Just so you know, currently over 100 lawsuits have been filed against Obamacare, and Obamacare has lost 91% of these cases decided to date. There are 71 losses out of 78 decisions. And that is according to the latest tally by the Beckett Fund. You know, I've said it before, but when deciding vote for this in the Supreme Court by Judge Roberts was made with him calling the bill a tax as his reasoning for accepting the bill, I believe that he opened the door for this bill to eventually be eliminated. I've called it a tax all along, and it's proven to be a tax. I've said plenty of times that we can definitely do better in our already superb medically advanced country in basic care and affordability of it. But making it a tax was not the answer. It's just my opinion on this one, folks. And it looks like with all these losses piling up, it makes me wonder if the Affordable Care Act will eventually be repealed. I have special thanks to Craig Bannister and CNS News for helping with this story. So I did get to that. We're going to go to break in just a minute, but I do want to remind you, go to my site, Molesky.com or unfairmovie.com for any news to see if there will be additional showings at movie locations near you. It should be big. I want you to get out there. It'll be fun. It'll be fun if they have it. Otherwise, we can just wait till DVD. We're going to go to break right now. I hear my music going on, so I'm not going to start any new segments. Please stay tuned for these wonderful messages from our wonderful sponsors, including Mr. Chapper. Welcome back to the FairTax for All radio show. I am your host, Alex Molesky, the one and only. I believe I actually am the one and only with the spelling of that name. So it's not like everybody wants to be Jeremy Siegel. Yeah, they do. I know they do. Anyway, I want to make a little extra time here today to make a personal thank you to a candidate in Arizona that took the time to come to the movies with us at Desert Ridge. As I stated at the theater, and also for candidates nationwide, that an appearance at the theater for the Unfair movie does not necessarily represent an endorsement of the movie. But it does show that the person that I specifically want to mention here, retired Lieutenant Colonel Wendy Rogers, does take the issues of the income tax and the IRS seriously. I said it before on the show that in regards to taxation in the 3 or 4 congressional races that are deemed to be very close here in Arizona, that she stands out above the others in regards to a strong tax reform stance. I'm going to read verbatim from her campaign website now. We need real reform that reduces the amount of tax that Americans pay to the federal government. By eliminating today's tax code, eliminating the IRS, and replacing our current system with one that puts all Americans on an even footing, we immediately end one of the most draconian federal agencies in history, and one that recently has proved it can be used for nefarious purposes to harass and punish innocent American citizens. That, folks, is not an endorsement of the fair tax, but it is a very powerful stand on tax reform, one that spells out quite clearly where she stands. In my mind, she's a champion for tax reform, and there is less than 3 weeks until the November 4th elections, folks. I know she could definitely use more people on board to help make phone calls. Spoke with her directly. So do me a favor. Call her office at 480-525-2929. That's 480-525-2929. Or better yet, easier, you can remember this one easily if you're driving or whatever, can't write it down, wendyrogers.org. That's wendyrogers.org. You can email her. You can find this phone number that I mentioned there, or just drive to her offices in Mesa and make some calls. They're open at the regular hours you'd expect them to be. She has 20,000 calls to make in the next couple of weeks. The offices need callers. A few hours of your time, multiply that by 300 people, and you clear that right up and enable her to be elected as a new champion for tax reform. I don't want you to be resigned to think that others will do it for you. They won't. If you don't make the effort, then others won't either. You do need to go to her offices, though, to make the call. I tried. I asked her. She said, nope, sorry. This is the way the database is set up. You have to make the calls from there. I'm not even in her district, but I realize that just because she isn't in my district doesn't mean she won't be able to help me. She will still be voting on issues that affect me and all of you, particularly in regards to income taxes and the tax code and the IRS. You know, I want to get rid of the IRS, so I will be making a visit to Mesa. Maybe I'll make a trip down to Mesa and tape my show next week, Jeremy. That could be fun at our campaign offices. I'm going to have to ask permission.
You know, I love Mesa.
Jeremy, you don't want me to do that, do you? You want me to get to Mesa? Yeah, get there. Maybe do it before the game.
My neck of the woods.
I'd have to do it during the day. Anyway, Colonel, would that be okay with you? We'll see. I might be a distraction. I don't know. Listen, if you absolutely cannot make it out to her offices to help, you'd be surprised, just surprised how far a small donation can go. So it's up to you. You can go to wendyrogers.org site and donate even a little. It really does all add up. wendyrogers.org. She's at 3030 South Rural Road. That's in Tempe. Sorry. Why did I say Mesa? Did I say Mesa? Tempe, folks. Tempe. She's in Tempe. Go to her website, wendyrogers.org. Trust that, not me necessarily here with the address information. Okay, moving on. This segment's going to be a little bit slightly unorthodox. Not unorthodox. Just excuse me if I seem a little uncommitted at times during this segment. The times, locations, names have been changed in order to protect the innocent, I guess. Bottom line is, I had a nice chat the other day with an ex-IRS employee. No, it was not very clandestine of a meeting, and I didn't actually ask for proof that the person I spoke with was an actual employee of the IRS. I saw no reason to doubt the individual, and especially after talking with them for over an hour, it's very doubtful that they'd be making these things up. So I see no reason to doubt them. And I was very thankful for the opportunity to chat. And as I expected, there were no horns coming out of the person's head when we met. Out of Jeremy's, yes, but not theirs. What I was very thankful for was the opportunity to chat. And as what thrilled me the most, I guess, was that the former employee came to the conclusion many years ago, that the tax system is much too complicated. And the system is, simply put, not a good system. This person believes that the best solution or replacement system of taxation is, get this, the fair tax. Yes, so I like the guy, the person already. Bottom line is, the talk that was coming out of the person's mouth indicated to me a very, very good understanding of the IRS the tax code and the fair tax. I hate to seem so cryptic on the show. We are not a conspiracy theory show, but let's be honest. The tax system is horrible, and it's not hard for me to get agreement on that topic. This person wasn't overly concerned about his old employers getting upset with him, but still, I have no reason to share their personal information and put them on any potential spot. I can always plead the fifth if anyone asks me for my sources of personal information. I don't know anybody who's done that. Anyway, when we spoke, the main point that I took was that they found the most lacking part of the fair tax, in their opinion, as it stands today, is a lack of bipartisan support. I agree. I've said that's one of the major concerns that I have, too. The bill was created 14 years ago on a bipartisan effort to address the tax concerns that typically fall to the left, the middle, and the right. I believe the bill H.R. 25S122 does a phenomenal job of addressing just about any concern that could come from switching from an income tax to a consumption tax. The former IRS employee also added that the consumption-based taxation from an enforcement angle made so much more sense due to the simplicity and the ease of it. This former IRS employee had some fun stories to tell, which I might be able to share at a later date. I'll have to clarify some things, but I was laughing. I'm just so glad that they reached out to me so I could hear this side, the IRS side. And I have stated on this show many times before that we shouldn't yell at the paper delivery boy for the bad news in the newspaper. Well, IRS agents don't make law. It's our elected officials that make all of the laws. All of them. 100% if I'm not mistaken. So don't blame the agent, blame DC. So many rules and regulations that get put on and then don't get reversed. So many that are so obviously made directly for one company. I will say that I'm very grateful for this new source of soundboard to bounce ideas and thoughts. I'm very glad a person with this experience and intricate knowledge of the workings of the IRS agrees that the fair tax is the best solution that they see on the horizon. I mean, what an endorsement. Can't get much better than that. In concluding the story, I'd like to share a follow-up from our chat that this person sent to me with feedback from the Unfair movie. This person wrote that, I must say, I was hoping for more information on the fair tax. I thought the film was a little too negative regarding the IRS. Don't get me wrong. I don't approve of lowest learners' behavior or the targeting of certain groups' tax-exempt applications. That is unacceptable, whoever they inappropriately target. The underlying problem, to my mind, however, is the complexity and catering to special interests in the current system as passed by Congress. I may be somewhat prejudiced, but I worked with many competent, dedicated, and practical professionals, including accountants, engineers, economists, and others in my career. In my humble opinion, I would have liked to see more emphasis on how the fair tax will work well for Americans. I understand you, my friend. I think the movie, folks, the movie name tells us we're going to concentrate on the IRS for the movie. It's obvious to me that the movie makers do lean towards the fair tax. And while I think they want to support the fair tax, they didn't want to make it a complete overkill to people that don't support the fair tax. I know for a fact that there were people at my theater who were not fair tax supporters. And as a theater captain, I kept my status as state director of the fair tax very low key. I wanted to shout at folks, but hey, let's just get everybody to the table. Let's get everybody talking about and getting very active in the mode of to reform the tax code. You don't have to be a fair taxer, but I'd hope you'd be a tax reformist because what we have doesn't work. If our tax code was a one-size-fit-all, I'd say it doesn't fit anyone. Not anyone that I know. The focus was the IRS in the movie. Hopefully enough people will now not be resigned to accepting the status quo and asking their elected officials, and then they'll get out there and ask their elected officials to support tax reform, real tax reform, reform, like H.R. 25 in the House and S. 122 in the Senate. And if you don't like the fair tax, that's fine. Ask for repeal 16, where it gets everybody to the table. Ask them for the flat tax if that's your thing. Ask them for other forms, whatever it might be. Just tax reform, getting rid of the IRS. And remember, don't blame the newspaper delivery guy for the bad news in the paper. Thank you to my new fair tax friend, the ex-IRS employee. Jeremy, that's pretty good. Just like I don't usually blame you for anything that goes wrong in the sound room, right? He's not even listening. You know, that's what happens. You know, you get these guys, they get distracted. Is that Chris in there with you?
No, that was actually vocab.
Oh, wow. Getting busy in there today, man. So you can't see it, but I can see Jeremy. I put the picture up on the video last week. Nice. What's up, buddy? Waiting for me to get done with this, huh? I'll be done in just a moment, folks. I do want to let you know of a few more things that are going on this week or next week. I mentioned before we have on October 25th, Saturday morning at 10:15 a.m. Meet up with me. We're going to be at the Wounded Warriors Race in Cave Creek in North Scottsdale. We hold signs, wave flags, and salute our heroes. I may or may not be able to make it, depending if I have anybody working my Prepperfest table. But this is a great way to show support for our troops that have come back, these athletes, these heroes. They don't want to be called heroes, but they are to me. I'm sorry. You guys are awesome. You allow me to do this. Your efforts allow me to do this. I'll be at the Prepperfest, which I talked about. I'm going to have that up at my site. I really hope you're voting on the 14th. This is so important. I'm sorry, the 14th? If you vote on the 14th, you're too late. The movie was the 14th. Like I said on my site, I'm going to hope to have information on that up. November 4th, vote. Just get out and vote. I'd hope you vote for our tax reformers, but if you can't, just vote. Get out and vote. Your words are important. I also want to really thank Mark and Kim because I know now that on November 22nd, from 10 to 12, that's 10 a.m. to 12 noon. I guess tables will be set up around 9:30. By 9:30, show up if you want to talk to me and learn more about the fair tax. Maybe the unfair movie people will be there, but Dr. Marshall Foster is going to be talk about the 4,000-year March of Liberty. And also in part 2, the unstoppable strategy to keep and hold liberty. Bottom line is, religious or not, this is going to be a great talk about the strong influence of a religion on our founding fathers and in our Constitution. I'm excited about this. I will be sitting through this because I want to learn more about this and the mindset of our founding fathers. I'm definitely in need of this. So remember, all this information can be found at Molesky.com under the events tab. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in here at Fair Tax for All Radio, and I will be back next week with more Fair Tax for All information. In the meantime, contact me, send me your stories, ask me questions, get involved, call your congressman, your senators, call Jeremy. He looks lonely. Take care, folks.